Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, phase one of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas moves forward. This critical deal, brokered by President Trump, unfolding as the world watches, hoping for an end to the two-year-old war. The return of the remaining hostages held by Hamas is said to be planned for early next week.
I'm Mary Bruce at the White House with what the president is now saying about the agreement and what happens next.
New York Attorney General Letitia James indicted by a federal grand jury on at least one count of alleged fraud following pressure from the White House.
I'm Pierre Thomas with a look at what's behind those charges against James and what it could mean for her if found guilty.
AARP is out with an urgent warning to its 38 million members about Bitcoin ATMs popping up all over the country in supermarkets, liquor stores, and corner shops. But critics say these machines are a hit with scammers. In tonight's Prime Focus, an ABC News investigation into this growing industry and what you need to know to keep your money safe.
They just kept reeling you in more and more. You had no idea that this was a scam.
Turning Point USA, the organization founded by slain right-wing activist Charlie Kirk, announces it will host its own Super Bowl halftime show called the All-American Halftime Show, saying the event will focus on, quote, faith, family, and freedom. The move is drawing criticism for targeting NFL's official performance featuring Latino megastar Bad Bunny. And the cast of the new movie Roof Man is here. Channing Tatum, Kirsten Dunst, and director Derek Cianfrance talk to me about what drew them to this true story and what it's like playing these real-life characters on the big screen.
You just find yourself really liking this guy, and he's so just warm and optimistic. He takes care of you on the phone call somehow, like he really is interested in your life.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. As we come on the air tonight, we are learning more about the indictment of New York Attorney General Letitia James. This marks the second time in 2 weeks one of President Trump's opponents has been indicted. We'll have the details coming up. But first, we do begin with breaking news and the historic and fast-moving developments in President Trump's plan to end the war in Gaza. Just a short time ago, at 1:20 a.m. local time, the Israeli government voted to ratify phase one of the ceasefire agreement. People waited all day and night for the news in Tel Aviv. They broke into cheers and celebrations for the deal, which includes the release of the remaining hostages held by Hamas, both living and dead. President Trump, surrounded by members of his cabinet, said he will travel to the Middle East within days, revealing he has been invited to address the Knesset. In Gaza, children cheering and jumping over the news. The UN says it's ready to move 170,000 tons of aid into Gaza as soon as it gets the green light. Earlier in the day, explosions were still seen in parts of Gaza as major questions remain about the withdrawal of Israeli forces and how to disarm Hamas. We have a former Israeli ambassador standing by to discuss the challenges ahead, and our team is following these developments from the Middle East and the White House. We begin with Mary Bruce from the White House tonight.
Tonight in Israel, an outpouring of joy. Jubilation over the deal that is expected to bring home the remaining hostages who have been prisoners of Hamas for more than 2 years.
This is such a happy moment for us, the families of the hostages. Such a happy moment for all Israelis and for all the Middle East.
In Gaza, too, some hope amid the devastation. A sense of relief. The war has claimed the lives of 67,000 Palestinians, including 20,000 children, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. At the White House, President Trump calling it a, quote, momentous breakthrough.
We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace.
A huge triumph for Trump, who brokered the deal, negotiated by his envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Right now, what's been agreed to is phase one. Hamas set to release the 20 living hostages early next week, and ultimately the remains of 28 others who perished. In return, Israel agreeing to release more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners and to pull back its troops in Gaza to an agreed-upon line. The big question, what comes next? The president's 20-point plan had called for Hamas to disarm and for Gaza to be governed by an apolitical Palestinian committee overseen by an international board of peace with Trump as its chairman.
What guarantees Hamas disarms and that Israel doesn't resume bombing once the hostages are released?
The first thing we're doing is getting our hostages back, okay? And that's what people wanted more than anything else. They wanted these hostages back that have lived in hell like nobody has ever even dreamt possible. And after that, we'll see.
Months ago, Trump said the Palestinians would have to leave Gaza. His 20-point plan took a different approach, saying no one will be forced to leave. We will encourage people to stay. Today, I asked him if that still holds.
Can you promise Palestinians they will be able to stay?
Well, they know exactly what we're doing. We're going to create something where people can live. You can't live right now in Gaza. The place is it's a horrible situation. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So yeah, we're going to create better conditions for people.
The answer leading to more questions. So later, I asked for clarification.
Can you confirm that as Gaza is rebuilt, that no one will be forced to leave?
Yeah, nobody's going to be forced to leave. No, it's just the opposite. No, we're not looking to do that at all.
In Gaza tonight, hope, but also uncertainty. I hope this happiness will be fulfilled and the ceasefire deal will last, this displaced mother says. We don't want them to take their hostages and then return to the war.
So many are hoping that it happens. Mary joins us now from the White House. Mary, there's cautious optimism on both sides tonight. What can we expect in the coming days?
Well, Lindsay, we have just learned that 200 U.S. troops are now making their way to Israel to monitor this ceasefire from there. Officials stressing they will not be going into Gaza. And, of course, the president has said that he plans to travel to the region in the coming days. Lindsay?
Mary Bruce from the White House Force. Thanks so much, Mary.
Thank you.
More on that breaking news tonight. Israel's government has approved the Gaza ceasefire and hostage release plan. The government has just approved the framework for the release of all of the hostages, both the living and deceased, the statement says. So many people bracing for what will come next there. Let's get right to the Middle East and our Marcus Moore in Tel Aviv tonight. Marcus?
Hi, Lindsay. We are at Hostage Square in central Tel Aviv as this place has become one for mourning as well as one of vigil. People here are cautiously optimistic about the current progress being made on a ceasefire in Gaza. And despite the encouraging news, the Hostage Family Forum saying that they will not rest until every single hostage is brought home. Of course, as you know, the agreement on phase 1 of President Trump's 20-point ceasefire plan calls for the immediate release of all of the hostages, 48 still in captivity, 20 are believed to be alive. Also, Israeli troops are to withdraw to an agreed upon line. Tonight, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law and former advisor Jared Kushner. Lindsay, as all of this is playing out, the heavy bombardments continue in Gaza, including several strikes even tonight in and around Gaza City. Lindsay.
Marcus, thank you. Back here in the U.S., just 24 hours after former FBI Director James Comey pleaded not guilty to federal charges, New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted by a federal grand jury. She's another of President Trump's fiercest opponents. ABC legal contributor Bernardo Villolona is standing by, but first, our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has the details.
Tonight, New York Attorney General Letitia James becomes the second political enemy of President Trump to face indictment, just 2 weeks after former FBI Director James Comey was charged with lying to Congress. The Justice Department announcing that James is charged with one count of bank fraud, which carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison and up to $1 million fine. Prosecutors allege that James misled a bank in order to get a more favorable term on a loan, specifically claiming that property was going to be a residence when, according to prosecutors, it was going to be rented for profit. Tonight, James firing back.
These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost.
The indictment was sought by newly picked U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsey Halligan, one of the president's former personal attorneys with no prosecutorial experience. She did so just weeks after President Trump forced out her predecessor, Eric Siebert, after he refused to indict James or former Director Comey. The indictments come just weeks after President Trump, in a social media post, publicly called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to bring charges against James and Comey, writing, "They're all guilty as hell, but nothing's going to be done."
It looks to me like she's very guilty of something.
James has been a target of the president since she won a $500 million civil fraud case that held Trump liable for overvaluing his golf courses, buildings, and a Trump Tower apartment.
Letitia James says the same. Pierre Thomas joins us now. Pierre, any indication if this is the last legal action involving one of President Trump's opponents?
Well, sources tell us that today's indictment of James, on the heels of those charges against former FBI Director Comey, are meant to send a message. Everyone on the president's enemies list should be on notice, Linsey, that charges are likely coming.
Pierre Thomas for us. Thanks so much, Pierre. And for a deeper discussion of this, we're joined by ABC News legal contributor Bernarda Villalona. Bernarda, thanks for joining us. We just heard Pierre report that his sources say this is meant to send a message to everyone on President Trump's enemies list. Who else could be on that list?
Well, it seems that this is definitely just the beginning. The Department of Justice seems that it has been weaponized now. But I think who we're looking at as someone else on the target list is Adam Schiff. And we say Adam Schiff because of the social media post, the Truth Social post, where Donald Trump was calling for the prosecution of James, Comey, and Schiff in that post.
And of course, as a seasoned trial attorney, you know the saying that grand juries will often indict a ham sandwich. Before the cases against James Comey and Letitia James can go to trial, there will be plenty of hearings with judges. What could happen in those hearings?
So one of the first hearings that we're going to be looking at that's definitely going to happen is that both defense attorneys are going to file a motion for vindictive and selective prosecution, requesting that this grand jury indictment be dismissed because of the political charge and motivation of the Department of Justice in seeking a prosecution against James as well as in Comey. Of course, two separate indictments, two separate cases, but we still have the same important evidence, which will be that Truth Social post where Donald Trump called for the prosecution of Letitia James and of James Comey. Also to note that this is not the first statement that Donald Trump has made regarding Letitia James. All his prior statements when he was running for president, when he was being prosecuted in New York County, as well as those civil cases that he faced trial for, those words will be used in this prosecution in terms of the defense using it as grounds for their motion to be granted by this judge and for it to be dismissed.
And lastly, what are the timelines for both the Comey and James cases?
Well, this is the very beginning. In terms of Letitia James, the first thing that needs to happen is her arrest. So the question would be is whether the Department of Justice will allow Letitia James to actually surrender herself to be processed for this indictment. Also, the initial appearance, where she'll be notified about her charges, the bail conditions, and her right to counsel. She still needs to be arraigned. After that, there will be a schedule in terms of pretrial conferences laying out the motions that will be set, a motion schedule to be litigated, and not until those motions are actually litigated are we going to see a trial date set for trial for any of these two cases. But we're just in the beginning. This is going to be a long haul. I don't see, if a trial were to happen, it's not going to happen until the fall of next year.
All right. ABC News legal contributor Bernarda Villalona, always appreciate your time and insight. Thank you. Now to two high-stakes legal showdowns, both challenging President Trump's authority to deploy National Guard troops to Chicago and Portland, Oregon. 500 troops are now on the ground in the Chicago area. ABC's Alex Perez reports from Chicago.
With members of the Texas National Guard already stationed at this ICE facility outside Chicago,
you guys are on the wrong side of the fence right now.
Tonight, a federal judge granting a partial temporary restraining order on federal troop deployments in Illinois. Justice Department lawyers argue the troops are there to protect federal agents who are being targeted by agitators, claiming there is a danger of rebellion. But the lawyer for the state argued there is no rebellion in Illinois. The Trump administration telling the judge the Guard's mission is not solving all of crime in Chicago. But President Trump today saying they'll bring crime down whether the governor wants troops there or not.
They don't want to have a safe Chicago, and we can solve the problem very quickly, and we're doing that anyway, regardless of if he doesn't want it or if he does want it.
No Trump, no ICE, no Trump.
Overnight, protesters taking to Chicago streets. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is vowing to fight aggressive tactics.
Look at what ICE and CBP are doing. They're wearing fatigues. They're carrying long guns, automatic weapons. They're coming to downtown Chicago, Michigan Avenue, What is the purpose of that? It's all a show.
Out west, another hearing about the National Guard in Portland. A Trump-appointed judge seemingly sympathetic to the government.
Here, a facility was actually closed for almost a month, and the record includes more than one, at least 2 attempts to burn the building down.
And tonight, with the growing showdown over sending the National Guard into American cities, one key Republican governor says he does not support Texas' decision to send Guard troops to Illinois. Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma telling the New York Times Oklahomans would lose their mind if Pritzker and Illinois sent troops down to Oklahoma during the Biden administration.
Alex, thank you. Texas's highest appeals court has granted a reprieve for a death row inmate just days before he was set to be the first person executed for a murder tied to shaken baby syndrome. Robert Roberson was found guilty in the death of his 2-year-old daughter in 2002. His defense has raised questions about the science used to convict him. Many medical and legal experts say that the diagnosis of shaken baby syndrome is considered unreliable. An Orlando judge has denied bail for the man charged with starting the most destructive fire in Los Angeles history. 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck faces up to 20 years in jail if convicted of starting January's Palisades fire. 12 people died and more than 6,000 structures were destroyed. Investigators say last month Rinderneck threatened to burn down his own family's home. The organization founded by slain right-wing activist Charlie Kirk has announced counter-programming for the Super Bowl halftime show featuring Bad Bunny. Turning Point USA announced what they're calling the All-American halftime show on social media, saying the event will focus on, quote, faith, family, and freedom. The announcement drew criticism online for targeting a halftime show featuring Bad Bunny, who is an American. The group has not arranged any entertainment yet, but described their program options as, quote, anything in English and worship. Coming up, another shutdown vote failed today, and the fallout is growing. Just how much of an impact is it having from everything from government workers to flight schedules? It's become a key tool in scamming people out of hundreds of millions of dollars, and you may have seen it before without even noticing. We take a deeper look at Bitcoin ATMs and even see a crypto scam unfold in real time.
Hey, ma'am.
Yes.
Can I talk to you for a second?
Please, I have the bank on the phone.
Okay, let me talk to who you're talking to on the bank.
I'm in danger.
Okay, no, you're not, ma'am. Okay, stop putting money in there.
And a butterfly loses its wing, but there's still hope it could fly again. See if this wing transplant actually worked. Welcome back. The Trump administration now says it plans to deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Ghana. DHS previously said it planned to deport him to Eswatini and Uganda. Abrego Garcia is a Salvadoran native who was deported back to El Salvador in March despite a 2019 court order barring his deportation there due to fear of persecution. The Trump administration claimed that he was a member of criminal gang MS-13, which his family and attorneys deny. He was brought back to the U.S. in June to face human trafficking charges. He has pleaded not guilty. The government shutdown is now in its 9th day, and it is certainly taking a toll on millions of government employees, including military members and their families who are not getting paid. Today, Speaker Mike Johnson was confronted by the wife of a service member making an emotional plea, saying, quote, my kids could die if she can't afford their medication. Here's our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott.
Tonight, growing anxiety among American military families. People lining up for hours outside the food pantry near Fort Hood, Texas. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson confronted on live television by a woman who says she's a military spouse from Virginia.
I have 2 medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country.
She told Johnson she is outraged that he won't bring the House back into session to pass emergency funding to pay the troops.
As a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military is getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes 6 figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
But Johnson blaming the Democrats.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are preventing your family from getting the care they need, not Republicans, and my heart goes out to you.
Our thanks to Rachel Scott. For more now, we're joined by Republican Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma. Senator, thanks so much for talking with us. People, as you know, are starting to really feel the consequences of the shutdown, like delays at the airports due to the TSA and air traffic control. Is that at all creating any pressure to ultimately reach an agreement here?
Well, I hope it is. I've had several of my Democratic colleagues say to me, hey, we're now at a point that civilian federal workers aren't getting paid. Our military won't be paid next Wednesday. People are understanding now more and more how they're calling into the Democratic offices to say, hey, when is this going to get actually resolved? So it's been frustrating. This one's been odd for me, just point blank, because we typically just have a continuing resolution like this that's clean, no drama in it every September. We extended out, keep the negotiations going, but for whatever reason, my Democratic colleagues said we're not going to do that this time. We want a whole lot more on it. So it's been odd from the very beginning for this one.
Today on C-SPAN, House Speaker Johnson got an earful from a military wife begging lawmakers to ensure military pay isn't frozen. Here's some of what she said.
I'm begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. We don't have the credit because of the medical bills that I have to pay regularly. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military is getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes six figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
What do you say to military families who are wondering if their paychecks are going to come next week?
Yeah, I hate that. I've actually been in communication with some of our military folks in state as well, and it's been frustrating because the House of Representatives already passed a bill that actually fully funds the government, that keeps us open and keeps us going. We are ready to be able to pass that in the Senate. In fact, we've had up to 55 votes. We have a majority of the body that wants to be able to move that. But we have 45 Democrats saying, no, we won't keep it open.
Is there room for compromise at all on the side of the Republicans while the government is shut down?
No, there's not actually, because when you start opening up, trying to deal with a health care issue, this will take several weeks to be able to actually negotiate. We think that's absolutely absurd to not pay the military at the same time we do several weeks of negotiation on a health care policy. If the Democrats are demanding, saying, hey, we want to spend, as they are now, $450 billion on a health care policy that's unrelated to our military, and to say if we can't spend $450 billion on something that's never been through committee, never had any dialogue on it, we know has fraud, literally is giving subsidies to people that make $500,000 a year. We're saying, hey, all of those are problems. We don't want to throw money at fraud. We don't want to subsidize health care for people that make $500,000 a year. Let's talk about all these things, but not actually not pay the military while we're having that conversation. Why would we ever do that?
President Trump has suggested, as you know, that furloughed federal workers may not get back pay, despite a federal law that he signed which guarantees that. Will federal workers get paid?
Yeah, absolutely. Federal workers will get back pay. But one thing is getting left out on this: when there's a shutdown like this, people that are contractors don't get back pay. They don't get paid. So we're talking janitorial services, food services that are in all of these federal buildings all around the country. They never do get back pay on it. So while it's accurate that federal workers will get back pay, even if they were furloughed, there are a lot of folks that live paycheck to paycheck that are contractors that they won't, because they never do. So this is yet another reason. Let's get the government open, get us operating again for the sake of those families.
Senator Lankford, we thank you so much for your time as always.
You bet. Glad to visit again. Keep praying for the nation.
And still ahead, our investigation into a scam using a new type of ATM machines to bilk Americans out of hundreds of millions of dollars, and how this patient was able to fly out of transplant surgery. Welcome back, everyone. You've probably walked right past one of these machines without even knowing it. Bitcoin ATMs. They convert cash into cryptocurrencies, and they become a key tool for scammers to bilk Americans out of hundreds of millions of dollars. Jay O'Brien has this story.
Hello.
She's at $23,000 already.
Where's she at right now?
In the corner room in here.
You're watching a cryptocurrency scam caught in real time.
Yes.
Can I talk to you for a second?
Please, I have the bank on the phone.
Okay, let me talk to who you're talking to on the bank.
I'm in danger.
Okay, stop putting money in there.
Fran Bates, 85 years old, has been coaxed to a gas station she's never been to, up to a machine she's never seen before, and is now a click away from losing tens of thousands of dollars of her life savings.
Do not click anything.
Lieutenant James Stewart arrived in the nick of time.
No, listen to me. Do you really want to fight this fight with me? Yes, it is my problem, because what you're doing is committing a crime.
Because Mindy Jordan, an eagle-eyed observer in in that gas station sensed something was wrong and called 911.
She was my angel.
Your angel?
Yes, she rescued me.
I was so scared for you.
Well, I was beginning to get pretty afraid too.
What was happening on your computer? Fran says she was convinced to click a link, and then the scammer then spoke to her through the speakers of her computer. And over the course of 2 days, persuaded Fran that her bank account had been infiltrated and she needed to withdraw all of her money to be deposited into something called a Bitcoin ATM.
It's true. That's
seems
exactly
so
what
hard to believe.
I know, and you think if you had to listen to it, you would wonder what's going on with that woman. Doesn't she realize what they're doing to her? No, you don't.
But they've got you.
Oh, they have you right where they want you. Thanks to this young lady, because of her knowledge, and I had never, what was the machine that I was?
A Bitcoin machine.
Bitcoin.
Fran is just one of dozens of victims ABC News and our owned television stations have found who were lured by scammers to deposit money into a Bitcoin ATM, a machine you may have walked by but never noticed, popular in gas stations, supermarkets, and liquor stores.
They just kept reeling you in more and more. You had no idea that this was a scam.
He walked me through everything on the Bitcoin machine.
Amy Nofziger, the director of fraud victim support for AARP, says her team fields dozens of calls every day from victims of a variety of different scams that all end the same way, with money deposited into one of the more than 45,000 Bitcoin ATMs across the country.
They look pretty much like a regular ATM. The difference is you don't really get money out of them. You put money in and buy cryptocurrency. And they're everywhere. From where we sit right now, there's about 10 in a 2-mile radius of us.
There's 10 around us.
Yep.
Just last year, data from the FBI shows Americans collectively lost nearly $250 million to scams using Bitcoin ATMs, more than doubling the total from the previous year. And fraudsters often believe the machine's digital transactions keep them anonymous and are untraceable, but not for Adam Zarazinski.
You can trace the untraceable. Yes, yeah, it is not untraceable. It is very traceable.
Zarazinski runs a cryptocurrency forensics firm called Inca Digital, working with law enforcement to track the funds scammers steal. He showed us how they do it.
So within a certain period of time, a couple hours, maybe a day, maybe longer, $20,000 of scam money just went through this one ATM? Yes. These ATMs overwhelmingly serve scammers.
Overwhelmingly?
Yes. These are all transnational criminal groups. Yeah, these are not one-off guys in grandma's basement. These are compounds typically.
This is a business.
This is a business.
Zarazinski explains those sophisticated scams that start with things like persistent text messages from unknown numbers increasingly now end up with an unsuspecting victim depositing cash into a Bitcoin ATM.
So the texts I'm getting on my phone, they are from large criminal groups? Yes. That's who's trying to scam me? That is who's doing it.
And lawmakers have taken notice. At least 17 states have now passed legislation restricting or outright banning Bitcoin ATMs. And last month, the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. sued a popular ATM company, alleging a whopping 93% of their transactions were tied to scams. The defendant in that suit, Athena Bitcoin, adamantly denied those claims in a statement to ABC News, saying in part they have strong safeguards against fraud, including transparent instructions, prominent warnings, and consumer education, and that just as a bank isn't held responsible if someone willingly sends funds to someone else, Athena does not control users' decisions. But Zarazinski believes Bitcoin ATM companies should do more to protect victims of fraud, like capping the amount of money a user can deposit in one day.
Why do you think, as you say, they're not being aggressive enough? Money. It's money. They have a financial incentive to let people be scammed?
Yep, because they make
They make a percent on every transaction.
While Zarazinski can track most transactions, victims often don't get their money back.
You're my knight in shining armor.
But Fran Bates did. Because of Mindy's 911 call and the quick work of Lieutenant Stewart, her deposit at that ATM was stopped. The scammer thwarted, though never identified. And the police were later able to recover all of her money working with the company that operates the ATM. Divine intervention, Fran calls it, but not everyone is so lucky.
Thank goodness you're someone that when you saw something, you did something.
So a number of people are now doing something. Our thanks to Jay O'Brien for that. Coming up, Channing Tatum, Kirsten Dunst, and a story that seems too wild to be true. We talked to them about their new film, Roof Man. And they're one of the most influential bands in the world. We catch up with Bomba Estéreo to talk about their staying power and their next collaboration. Your tax bracket could be changing. A nature preserve performs a wing transplant for a butterfly, and Variety names the hit maker of the year. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. As almost half of its workforce remains furloughed due to the government shutdown, the IRS has announced new federal income tax brackets and standard deductions for tax year 2026. The changes are for tax returns filed in 2027. The standard deduction rises to $16,100 for individuals, up from over $15,000 for married couples who filed jointly. It is $32,200, up from $31,500. Someone who earns the same income next year would likely owe slightly less in taxes, though the difference may be a few $100s. Up to $15 million is exempt from estate taxes, up from $13.99 million. A delicate procedure for an injured butterfly. This monarch butterfly was miraculously able to fly again after undergoing a wing transplant at a nature preserve in Long Island. The organization said it used part of a wing from a deceased butterfly to perform the repair. Monarch butterflies are the only butterfly known to migrate thousands of miles each year. The giant stone heads that have become synonymous with Easter Island off the coast of Chile have long puzzled scientists, but researchers now say they know how the native Rapa Nui people transported the 86-ton stone heads. They walked. With the help of 3D modeling, they say the people likely tied ropes around the tops of the heads and were able to rock them back and forth, then waddle them forward. The team published its results in the Journal of Archaeological Science and even field tested the idea with a replica head. West Africa has been dealing with some severe weather recently, and it could affect your Halloween plans. Prices for cocoa, the main ingredient in chocolate, have more than doubled from last year on account of heavy rainfall, but also severe droughts and crop disease across much of West Africa. That's according to the Wells Fargo Agri-Food Institute, which says the region is seeing its largest supply deficit in 60 years. Chocolate manufacturers have been hiking prices all year, but Hershey's now says despite that, it will not be raising the cost of its specially packaged Halloween candy. Variety has gotten a taste of Sabrina Carpenter, and they are pleased, naming her as the 2025 Hitmaker of the Year.
Please, 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 don't prove I'm right.
Carpenter recently released her 7th studio album, Man's Best Friend, just a year after her Grammy-winning album, Short and Sweet. The magazine said she balances pop with provocation, but applaud her for being in control of her career and artistry. Angel Reese is getting her wings. The WNBA player will walk in the upcoming Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York City next week. The first time any athlete will walk the runway in the iconic fashion show. Reese posted about the news on social media, saying she's stepping into a dream. Two of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, Channing Tatum, known for his charisma, humor, and signature dance moves, and Academy Award nominee Kirsten Dunst, whose talents has captivated audiences for more than 3 decades. They're teaming up with Academy Award nominee director Derek Cianfrance to bring a true crime dramedy to the big screen. Roof Man tells the story of a complicated dad-turned-convict. I had the chance to sit down with the Hollywood powerhouses to talk about the film and their impressive careers.
We all like going back in time and imagining how things could have gone differently.
Still no leads on the whereabouts of the escaped convict known as the Roof Man.
How did you come across Jeffrey's story?
My producer, Jamie Patrikoff, told me about the story of Jeff.
Good morning, team. No, don't be scared. I was not good at hurting people.
The more I researched, the more I realized that the things that made him a good human were the things that made him a bad criminal. And that if he would have been like more of a cold-hearted person, we probably wouldn't even know his story. He would have gotten away. So I tried to speak to everyone in his life that would speak to me and just kind of got a full picture of the guy, Jeffrey Manchester.
And Channing, how about you? What was your interaction like with Jeffrey?
I was trying not to assume too much because I didn't know who I was going to talk to on the other end of the phone. As soon as I got on the phone with him, you just find yourself really liking this guy. He's so just warm and optimistic. He takes care of you on the phone call somehow. Like, he's interested in your life. He loves movies. We talk so much about movies and having a family, and he's still, he still's got hopes and dreams, and he gets out in 10 years.
And Kirsten, you got a chance to meet Lee in real life. Who talked to us about how much that impacted how you actually played her character.
Well, Derek met her and videoed her in that conference room, so I kind of got an essence of the love she still has for Jeff.
Would you like to go out with me?
On a date. And that there was not resentment or anything. She handled the situation with so much kindness and grace, and that love she had for him, that real love, I think, was something that I didn't expect, and I took all that and put that into, Lee, the role.
There's so much about him that is bad and criminal, and yet I found myself as a viewer rooting for him. How do you balance that delicate dance of, hey, this is a guy who does bad things, but yet we love him?
The thing for me was talking to the real people in his life. The two conversations I had that were most profound was when I talked to Lee and when I talked to Pastor Ron. And I expected both of them to maybe have some bitterness or betrayal or hurt feelings towards Jeff or be angry with him. But they both spoke about him like he was this unicorn that appeared in their lives. Lee said that it was the greatest adventure of her life and that she didn't regret a thing. And then I asked Pastor Ron to tell me about the Bible. And he said, well, first thing you have to know about the Bible is the Old Testament's about judgment and the New Testament's about grace. And that in his life, he tends to err on the side of grace. And I thought to myself, well, here's a guy, society judged him pretty harshly, sentenced him to 45 years. And the judge who sentenced him is actually in the movie as well. I spoke with her. But I figured that maybe the movie could follow Pastor Ron's advice and see him with a little grace.
And why was that important? You mentioned the judge, but there are others who were real life parts of this story as it played out in real time that you decided to include in the movie. Why was that important?
Well, this was an almost unbelievable story. I had to shoot it down in Charlotte, North Carolina, where the events took place because movies are built around this idea of suspension of disbelief. So Catherine Scheimreif, who was the sergeant who led the task force that arrested Jeff, she was on set. She was actually in the movie.
Never knew there was an intelligence unit here in Charlotte.
The guy who drove Jeff out in the truck is the same guy that drives Channing out in the truck. And so the people that we met down there had the right heart and knew the story.
Is it harder to play a character who's real?
I did tell Jeff early, like almost the first conversation that I had with him from prison, I was just like, look, I'm never going to be able to be you. But it's really going to be me and Derek and you kind of creating something that is going to be hopefully a beautiful story that will feel like it has the notes and the themes of like what we want people to know about you.
How about for you, Kirsten? Is it more difficult to play a real life person?
For me to play her in a way that felt very real to women and mothers, that was important to me. And I didn't want it to ever feel like you were watching someone and saying, what are you doing, girl? Like, why are you, not following your instincts? But so Lee saw the movie and seemed really happy with everything. So that's...
And with you.
It's hard to say that about yourself, though.
She loved me.
But yeah, I know. It's like, she really liked my performance. We're good.
Our thanks to Channing Tatum, Kirsten Dunst, and Derek C. in France. You can watch their film Roofman when it hits theaters tomorrow. Energy, creativity, and a one-of-a-kind blend of synths and rhythms over the last 2 decades, Bomba Estéreo has emerged as one of the most influential and unique tropical bands out there. And now the band has an exciting new collaboration with another Colombian legend. Roxy Diaz spent a weekend with Bomba vocalist Linsey Davis to talk about the evolution of their sound and what comes next. It's tonight's Prime Playlist.
From the heart of Colombia to the global stage, they've electrified dance floors, broken genre boundaries, and sparked a sonic revolution. This is the vibrant world of Bomba Estéreo. Led by the magnetic voice of Linsey and the visionary production of Simon Mejia, Bomba Estéreo has become a global ambassador of Latin alternative music, unapologetically original and fiercely rooted in culture.
I'm from the Sierra Nevada of Santa Marta, what is like a sacred place in Colombia. It's an indigenous territory. I feel like the roots is what you can show to the world and make you different.
For Liliana Saumet, better known as Lee, there's nothing quite like home and being connected to her roots.
You cannot escape to your roots, to your family. You know, it's like something that happened for Latinos for a long time, you know, more in this country. We're like super orgullosos and más ahora.
Lee bringing those roots and rhythms of the tropics into her latest project. A musical collaboration between the members of Bomba Estéreo and Rawayana is as tropical, with instant hits like Me Pasa. We were there for the last leg of their U.S. tour at the landmark stage of the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles. Your aura is just so magnetic and glowing. Is that everything that you brought to this new project?
This everything that I bring to everything that I do. For me, life is a ritual. So everything that I do is basically a ritual.
What began as an underground experiment in Bogota's indie scene in 2005 has grown into one of the most influential musical forces in Latin America.
I grew up with folk music, like Yo Arroyo, a bunch of cantadoras de cumbia, Petrona Martinez, Toto La Momposina, and in the other side I listen a lot of Radiohead, Massive Attack, Portishead, Daft Punk, and a lot of the electronic music.
That clash of tradition and innovation is part of Bomba Estéreo's signature sound. I love the influences that I hear. I hear the reggae, I hear the Afro beats, I hear the cumbia, I hear so many different parts of the world. You talked about your music being a psychedelic, conscious perreo. Explain that for people that don't understand what a psychedelic perreo is.
Psychedelic, so it's like a crazy conscience, because it's conscience, it's the message. And perreo, because you can dance.
Their early releases like Estalla en Fuego put them on the global radar. In 2015, Bomba's album Amanecer brought them international acclaim. The hit Soy Yo went viral. Soy yo. More than a song, it became a cultural anthem of identity, pride, and self-love.
Have a really deep impact in the Latin community in the United States.
Yes. But did you intend or did you think the message was going to grow and have the wave that it still does today?
Yeah, I didn't know. It was everything perfect. So people really get impacted with this message.
In 2021, Deja brought a more introspective energy. The album earned them their 3rd Grammy nomination and cemented their status as genre visionaries. In 2022, Bomba Estéreo reached an entirely new audience, teaming up with global superstar Bad Bunny on the heartfelt ballad Ojitos Lindos from his record-breaking album Un Verano Sin Ti.
Igual que todo tu pasito y solo mírame.
When I do this collaboration, I feel free, and it made me feel like, oh my God, I can do whatever I want. I do with someone with a reggaeton or whatever, and I can do my stuff and be me.
The song became a global smash, charting across the world, racking up over 1.7 billion streams, the highest streaming song in Bomba Estereo's catalog thus far, and earning praise for its dreamy fusion of reggaeton and tropical psych pop. Before hitting the stage, Lee took us through what she calls a grounding ritual of her own. That starts with pulling some tarot cards.
Ay, no he aprendido a hacer esto.
And esto lo haces before every show or after every show?
Sí.
Oh, wow. ¿Qué significa? What does it mean? Deep intuition, healing energy, gentle, wise with experience. That was so good. Thank you. And at the Hollywood Bowl, hit after hit, Lee took the stage delivering a performance that had everyone on their feet. And no, not only for her music, but her style. While in LA, Lee recharged. Her favorite way, one fabulous thrifted find at a time.
Oh my God, those are so cute. So cute.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I'm starting to buy stuff.
Okay.
I saw a bag.
Okay.
I saw
a form of self-expression, colorful and joyful, she's Bomba Estereo's vibrant core.
I'm gonna kill it with this.
After 18-pack shows across North America this spring and summer, Lee says she's ready for more.
For the next album, I'm so excited because I'm doing something for me really excited.
Some big collaborations I hear about too. Commemorating 500 years of Lee's hometown of Santa Marta, Colombia, it was only right to collaborate with another Santa Marta native, vallenato and cumbia powerhouse Carlos Vives, on their newest release, Laza Maria. But for Lee, it's all about uplifting people's spirits. De Colombia pa'l mundo, through the power of music.
I think with a good message, I can change many things. You have to be in my center. When I'm in center, that's the right place to be.
Our thanks to Roxy Diaz for that. And this Latin American and Hispanic Heritage Month, meet the artist whose music is changing the landscape of the industry, honoring culture and transcending boundaries, featuring Prince Royce, Bomba Estéreo, and Ivan Cornejo. The playlist presents Dale Play, streaming now on Disney Plus and Hulu. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.